We left Tonga this morning at sunup, and we've been sailing, what's the time now, 10, so I've been sailing about 3-4 hours, and we've just passed through the outer reef, so we're back in the Pacific now. There's just one more reef here we've got to get around, which is Duff Reef, but once we pass that we're in open water again on our way to Minerva, which is a few days away. So that's an update, and it's raining. It's been drizzling all night and all morning, but we've collected water. I think our water tank's nearly full. Yeah, it's been a nice morning so far.
So we're just going past a little island called Atta. Tiny little place, very tall. We're not stopping, but I thought it would be nice to have a record of it. And this is what the seas are doing right now. It's quite nice out there. Sun's rising. It's about 7:30 in the morning. All is good.
Oh. Well, not much wind today. The sun's just come up. We're on day 3 of our crossing from Tonga to Minerva, or to Norfolk Island, but we were planning on stopping in Minerva if all the holes in the trees lined up. So there's not much wind around this morning. There's no squalls that I can see. So I've got one reef in the main. I'm just going to shake that out and try and pick up a little bit of this breeze. It's only blowing about 6 knots. So yeah, come with me and we'll shake the reef out. Now, by shaking a reef out, you'll see that the sail doesn't go to the top of the mast. It's about 5 foot shy, and there's a lot of sail. This is for those of you that don't know what a reef is. You'll see that there's a lot of sail bundled down the bottom there. So what we're going to do is straighten it all back out again and hoist the sail back to the top. So this is how we do it on nutshell. Right, we've got these jack lines that run all the way around the boat that you can clip into. So whenever we leave the cockpit, we're out at sea, clip into a jack line. If you do unfortunately go over, at least you're attached to the boat. So there's 2 parts to a reefed sail. You've got I'll keep it in non-nautical simple terms, the back end of the sail has been pulled down to the boom, and the front end here has been pulled down. So it's taking a bite out of the sail. So what we do, this one here is our topping lift. We tension that up so that it holds the boom up in the air a bit. Then I'll undo this one here, which is my number 1 reefing line, and take the hook out, and then crank up first of all I'll release a bit of tension on the halyard. Then we'll take the hook out, crank the halyard back up, which lifts the sail up, then loosen off the topping lift again, and we're good to go. So in light winds like this, very easy procedure. I don't need any help or anything, it's just easy to do. First of all, just going to take the reefing line tension off. I attach it at the front here and at the back. So we'll go aft here. I'll just take off the cleat. We'll be back in a second. So it's now uncleated. We'll take up a bit of tension on the topping lift. That just keeps the boom up. So it's that. We will take the tension off the sail so I can undo this bottom bit. So the sail just drops a little bit. This all comes loose. Undo our little strop here, which hooks into this little eye and shortens our sail. So we'll take her off. She lives in this little deck box. Right, so now that's all loose, we can hoist the sail it's got a bit of wind in it, so I won't be able to do it by hand. So I can just hoist the sail back up, put the wrap on. Now because the sail's full and I've got the main sheet tension, the sail's got a bit of weight on the sail slide, so technically you shouldn't do this, but I know the boat. I know what you can handle. Not too much tension. So you want to check the sail and make sure you haven't got any vertical wrinkles in it, because that usually means a bit too much tension on the old halyard in these light airs. No, she looks good. She's nice and full, nothing's tangled. So a bit more. And old school, we've got cleats, we haven't got jam blocks or clutch blocks. Everything on this boat is old school. No lines are on aft apart from sheets. Everything's up here, either at the mast base or if you want to do any headsail work, it's all up the front. That's all tidied away. Winch handle back in the box, because that was our only winch handle for a year, so I don't want to lose her. So release the tension back off the topping lift, which puts this some shape back in the sail, but not too much tension because it rattles. So just like that. Whoop. Just like that. Job done. So that is how we shake a... Now it's got to tidy up some lines. That's how we shake a reef out. Oh, nutty. And whenever I'm here, I always like to check pins and shackles and wear and cracks, and just because this part of the boat cops an absolute hiding. It's where all the force from the sail gets pushed back down onto the mast, and it's always, when it's flogging around in light airs, it's getting whacked around, and it turns, it pivots this way, pivots this way, pivots this way. So it's quite a complex little arrangement, and with salt and stuff, things do wear, but no, it's all good. All my pins are good. I replaced the pins the other week. Split pins, they're good, shackle's good, and this part of the sail doesn't get much wear, so it doesn't really do anything apart from take a lot of tension. Alright, all the blocks look good. No flying fish anywhere, no squid. I'll show you around a bit more while I'm up here. Righto. I suppose I've never really taken you for a walk around up here. Got our headsail up there. Only got one headsail, fairly high cut Yankee style headsail. These winches or windlasses are just the duck's nuts. You can't beat the old LaFrance Tigress. It's just there above deck, so you've got no water running down past the seal on a sharp seal. Everything's simple, and they just go and they work hard. They work manually as well. I reckon. I mean, Mura's a good winch, a windlass. There's a few good windlasses around, but this LaFrance, it's just check the oil every now and then, and they just go. Clean the clutch and make sure the seal for the engine cover is good. They'll last your lifetime. So we've got one anchor up here. It's a Manson Supreme 60 pounder. I am soon going to swap that over to the port side and put a new Rockner up there for when we get to Australia. She's going to be a big heavy girl. A block at the end there for spinnaker. Then you've got staysail. Good old Peanut number 2, which is, it's like, you know, when you've got a family car and you've been putting up with the old Datsun 120Y for years and years and years, and all of a sudden Dad brings home a new Toyota Crown or a Rover or whatever country you're in, you know, a much better car, and it just changes a family's life. Well, the new Peanut changed our lives, and it's good to see the old Peanut went to Barry, the salty sea dog himself.
Peanut's got a new home.
Yeah.
It's now got a different name too. What's the name?
Tiny Shuddy.
Tiny Shaddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to live another day.
Oh, she looks good up there, mate.
Yeah,
She looks perfect.
Yeah, she looks good. You probably think you sold it to me too cheap.
So while I'm down walking around, I check all these pins, turnbuckles. This was flopping around last night, so I've just tensioned it right up. So I'll ease it off now. We've got a bit of wind. My temporary sailbag arrangement, which has been working well. We carry a couple of diesels and a couple of petrols and our outboard dicky fuel tank. On the other side, we've got a bit of water. And that's the big, beautiful butterfly hatch that I can't wait to varnish and replace the glass in and shiny up all the stainless. It's got this pretty basic preventer in here. It's got a bit of stretch in it, the whole cord, so it's pretty good. Then follow the jack line back to a nice traveller. Pretty basic setup. Everything's very basic on this boat. The rad vents, we've got 1, 2, and the other 2 are blocked off. 3, 4 Dorade vents. That solar panel is going to go on the new solar panel rack when I weld that up when I get home. We've got 3 of these deck boxes, which are fantastic for storing stuff. Gantry, you don't see gantries on many boats anymore. That holds the boom when the boom isn't being used. So here's my reefing line. So I'm just going to tidy that up and cleat it off. So it just cleats off up here. Again, no jam blocks or anything, it's all old school. So back to the gantry. As you can see, we can't really see out of the dodger. Well, just unzipped it a bit so we can see out. The gantry holds a boom when you're not using the main. Our new big solar panel, which has been fantastic. That's going to go. 2 of those are going to go on the back when I build the back end, the davits, and the bimini cover. It's our good old mizzen, radar. That's all self-explanatory. Again, all old school. Boarding ladder. Beautiful brass blocks for the heads all there. This grate, got a crack in it. The teak's so thin, so I'll be making a new one of them when we get to Australia. One on the other side we lost in a storm. Yeah, we just stored our little kayak up the front there. We bought that off a fella in La Paz. That's her, that's the front end. So staying clipped on all the way back to the back of the boat. This is the back end. No self-tailing winches. We've all our winches, the old manual, non-self-tailing. A few of them are 2 speeds. So that goes fast, that goes slow. We've got fast and slow, to mainly 1 speeds. Again, they just go off the cleats. Back end here, we've got our favourite light of the Barbie gas bottle, light sling, old Peanuts motor. We've got Wally steering us. He just steers us for weeks on end, tirelessly. It's a great crew member. The new engine, the old, or new 27-year-old Evinrude. Some lines, a spare anchor at the back there. This deck fitting has worn through after 40 years. So I've just made up this little temporary arrangement here to hold our mizzen sheet to the boat. Helmsman seat, cutting board, wheel, which doesn't do much, it just locks off. Because we've got, with our setup, we've got an auxiliary rudder at the back there. That does all the work, unless we're motoring or hand steering. So I just lock the main rudder off here. I can trim it, so you can see it's not exactly in the middle. It's off a bit to starboard, and that just whatever trim the boat needs for the wind pilot to work properly. We just lock it off on that trim. Throttle, gear selector, a Dan boy I move here while we're on the passage, so it's handy. What else is there? A couple of fishing lines. Our fishing arrangement is this super heavy duty line here that we got from good old Steve in Golfito. And then I've just got to run into a bit of bungee, not for any reason but an indicator. So if you've got a fish on, you can quickly tell from inside because that'll be stretched forward. So that's my fish indicator. So you can see the jack line runs to the end here. So now we can take the jack line off there and tidy it all away. So I've just got these lines drying. Had them out in the rain for a couple of days and now they're drying off. A wave came over the top and smacked straight through the plastic there. That's going to be replaced when we get home. I had all the tools there yesterday doing a rebuild on the toilet. We've got our handheld VHF out here. We keep a handheld GPS out here. And a Binox. That's all our instrumentation. Wind direction doesn't work, but wind speed does. A combo unit here, which we turn the brightness down at night time. And depth, which I turn off when we're underway to conserve a bit of power. Our SAT communication and tracker, and our main iPad here, which is hooked up to the Raymarine system on board. And also I have Navionics running on it as well, and we can have the radar and everything running on that. So quite a handy bit of kit. Ship's bell, which we only ding at drinkies time. Got a knife attached there just in case we need to free a line. So that's the view. You don't really need to come any further than this point at night when you're checking out all around you, because you can see pretty well from here aft. And then if the clears were clear, you could see perfectly well. But through here you can get a good view out forward, looking out for ships or anything floating. Yeah. It's a quick little look around the boat this morning on our way to Minerva Reef. As you can see here, we are now off course a little bit. The wind has clocked. By clocking I mean the wind has gone in a clockwise direction. So the wind was coming from about here, and now it's clocked around and it's coming from about here, the south, which has pushed us further west and now north. All these lines on the screen, the pink line is our track line, that's where we've been. As you can see, we've started swinging around further to the north. The black solid line is our original course line to our waypoint. The dotted black line is the moving rum line or course line. As we move, it moves. The thick black line is our heading, so the ship's heading, and the blue line is our course, taking into account set and drift. So that's our actual heading. So what I've got to do is go out and make a few adjustments, mainly to Wally. We just turn him a little bit to port and get us back on track down to North Minerva Reef. So that's where we're heading. We've been up here. I'll just show you where we've been. Right, we've been up here in Tonga, and we sort of zigged around, had a bit of a look around the place. We left, and then we had light winds the other night, and we zigged and zagged, trying to keep in the right direction until the winds picked up. We had a lovely run all yesterday. That's where I turn, whenever I use the HF radio on a certain frequency, you've got to turn the GPS off because it interferes. So that little section I had the GPS turned off. That's last night's run, and then this is this morning as the winds come up a little bit. So as you can see, we're heading down here to North Minerva Reef. It's a sunken atoll. There it is. So that's the entrance. It's about a 150 metre wide gap in the reef, just there to scoot through. So that's our plan, is to get there this afternoon and leave ourselves enough time to get across to the east side of the lagoon to anchor, because you want the protection of the reef in front of you. So that's the plan, that's where we're heading to. But we've got 54.6 nautical miles to go. We're currently doing 4.5 knots. So with anyone that's reasonable at maths, can tell it's going to take about 12 hours. It's 9 o'clock now, so add 12 hours to that, it'll be pitch black when we get there. And you do not enter an unmarked atoll with a narrow entrance at night. Or I don't anyway. So we'll see what happens when we get there. We might go down here to South Minerva Reef, which doesn't offer as much protection because the reef isn't as high out the water, and there's more fish in there and more lobster. But we'll see how we go. We'll see how we go. Usually don't make too many exact plans. But first of all, we're going to get us back on heading. We're even clocking more now, you can see we're clocking around. So let's get us back on a heading of where we want to go, and we'll get there early, or sooner. So how do we adjust Wally, you ask? We'll come out here. It started raining again. So here's Wally. You can see he wants to go to starboard at the moment. Big S is up in the air. But we want to go to port. So the more the wind clocks, the more he goes to starboard. So down here, amongst all this stuff, we've got a little tiller handle, a locking unit. Now these cables are old and very breakable. So I've been joining them until I can get some more of this stuff, which is pretty hard to buy. So we want to go more to port. So I've written P&S on here because it's opposite. Everything's opposite. So all we do is bring her around to port. As I do that, you'll see she's now gone the other way. She wants to go to port. A little bit more, I think. So loosen that off. Bring her around to port. There we go. Lock that back off. Now you can see she wants to go to port. We don't actually do anything with the wheel. The wheel just stays like that. Unless the wind comes up, then we give it some more trim. Because she's a slow old heavy boat, you won't have any instant change. We'll go back to the other screen because I prefer it. Alright, let's see if any changes happened. We were heading out towards this seamount, and we still are. So I'll need to put some more adjustment on Wally to make any difference. Put in about a 30-degree change there, so let's see what happens now. As you can see, she's coming around. It's only taken like 30 seconds for her to swing around. Wally still wants to go more port, so until Wally's straight up and down, that's where he's happy. We're on a pretty good course line now, but Wally's still going to port, so we're still swinging around. So what I made too much adjustment. So Wally's straight up. I still want to keep a little bit south. You see, we've been running south of our rum line because the wind is going to clock more and more and more. And so if we've got a little bit of south, then we can afford the wind to change a bit. So we will keep this heading. I'm pretty happy with that, at least for a few hours. Ooh, a bit of thunder out there. So thunder usually means rain and wind. Well, we got rain, so we're going to expect a bit more wind. Now, because we've come up into the wind, I've got to adjust the sails. So when you come up into the wind, you've got to trim sails in. So I'll go ahead and adjust our 4 sheets to bring the sails in a bit. So starting with the head sail, we'll just take the mizzen preventer off the cleat. Then starting with the head sail, just put that on up there. Just take out fishing line off there for a second. Right, so we just want to bring him in a bit. 2-speed winch, so that goes fast, that goes slow. So just bring her in until she stops flogging, which is a little bit more. A little bit more. Right, so the most efficient a sail can work is when it's just in from flapping around, or what we call flogging. So, oops, cleat that back on. Put our preventer on for the mizzen, because we've got to have a preventer, otherwise the mizzen hits Wally. Put our fishing line back on. Alright, so head sail's looking good. Now we want to check the staysail. Well, we picked up about a knot just doing that. What are we doing now? 6.3 knots. Picked up 2 knots just adjusting that. Our slot looks sensational. So what we've got, 2 head sails. We've got we've got 2 sails up the front, 1 head sail and 1 staysail. So we've got beautiful shape in our head sail now, but our staysail is a little bit loose, so we're not getting a nice slot, which is the gap between the head sail and the staysail. What we a nice parallel slot there, without any squishing, will give us extra bit of getting soaked here. Will give us an extra bit of speed. So I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to trim the head sail now to give us that perfect slot. I can see the slot out through the thing out here, through the gap, so I can see the slot out there. So I just want to bring that in until she's perfect. Oh, look at that! That is, if you could see what I can see, it looks bloody beautiful. Oh, look at that! You can feel the acceleration. I mean, it's not like being in a Formula 1 car, but you can feel the acceleration. We've accelerated 0.1 of a knot. We're now doing 6+ knots constantly. So cleat that back on. 2 sails down, 2 to go. Right, mainsail is back here, so we've just got to loosely cleat it there. Uncleat that, give that a couple of cranks, and we'll get the mainsail tuned up. I can see the main out through the gap here, and she's just flogging a little bit. So that's again a 2-speed winch. We've got fast and slow. Another wrap on there. Again, no self-tailing or anything exciting. Self-tailing, for those of you who don't know what that means, the winch has, just a standard winch, but on top of the winch it has like a grabber, like in layman's terms. So the rope will lay off the winch drum and onto the grabber. So it actually lays on top like that, and then it feeds out through a slot. So as you can see, when I'm winching, I'll just release and show you. When I'm winching, I've got to hold the rope, the sheet, and I can winch, and I've got to keep tension on this, otherwise it just slides back off the block, off the drum. So the self-tailer, you don't have to hold this. It hooks up there, and all you have to do is crank, and it just works. We don't have that luxury, so we'll just bring her in until I'm happy with the shape. She's just stopped flogging now. Oh, yeah, that looks sweet as bro, from the Kiwis. And cleat her off. Next, 3 down, 1 to go. So the next one is the mizzen. Now, mizzen is only found on ketches. We've got a second mast. It's found on schooners and all sorts of other boats, but it's not found on single mast boats. Mizzen's a great sail. I don't know how you can sail a boat without a mizzen, because it does so many jobs. It's just an unbelievable multi-purpose sail for when you're at anchor to stop you sailing around on the hook, or it stops you flogging around, but it also steers the boat. It's your main trimming sail. As long as you've got enough headsail up to drag you downwind, you've got this sail right at the back of the boat. It's only a small sail, but because it's so far back from the turning point or the pivot point of the boat, it has a lot of say in what happens. So you can trim if you've got a weather helm or lee helm, and your helm's really heavy when you're sailing. Adjusting your mizzen will take all that weight off the rudder, and the boat should always be sailed so it's in perfect tune, so nothing's being stressed. And that's where the mizzen comes into its own. You can adjust that everything to the nth degree. So what I've found over the years on this boat is that we just want the mizzen working in light airs like this. We just want her pulling her weight, and by that I mean we don't want to overpower the back end of the boat, because then she'll lose trim in light airs. In heavy airs we want the mizzen doing a fair bit of work. So we're in light airs now. We've got 13 knots of breeze, which is just when she starts to sail. So what I'm going to do now is bring in the mizzen, which I can do from here as well, just a little bit, just about there, and clean her off. So Wally's doing all right. He's still wanting us to go. He's still wanting a little bit of port, but mainly happy. So I'm not going to worry about trimming the main rudder to make it easier for him. I'll do that as if the wind picks up. All our other sails are tuned beautifully. We're zinging along at 6 knots in, it's now 14 knots of breeze, so that's pretty good for 20 odd tons of boat. Rain's coming, it's pretty dark, but rain's good because it washes the boat, and if it rains enough it fills our water tanks, so I always like a bit of rain. I've been gas bagging on this morning just because Wendy's asleep, and I've done all my chart work, and yeah, I just thought I'd share a bit of time with you guys. Yeah, it's about it for today, or this morning. It's only 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, so it's all sailing beautifully. She's in beautiful trim. All we need now is a fish, because I feel like filleting. And it'd be nice to have some fresh fish for dinner or lunch. Oh, it'd be sensational. Wendy can do one of her beautiful fish biryani curries. Oh, you've got to try one of those curries. Alright, well there's a rainbow over there, which is always a good sign. Well, I like rainbows anyway. They always make you feel good when it's raining, and they look good, and they usually mean it's light winds, because we don't want it too heavy. Alright, we're now heading on a perfect course a little bit south of our rum line. Oh yeah, rum line. A lot of you most probably never heard of the word rum line. R-H-U-M-B. A rum line is the straight point between point A and point B. So we're going from Tonga to Minerva, right? So it's a line between the two. If we were going from Tonga to Brisbane, Australia, which is a bit further, nearly 2,000 miles, a straight line between 2 points isn't the shortest distance. So that's our rum line. Because Earth is not flat, well, to most of us anyway, it's a sphere, or it's what's that shape called? A squash sort of sphere thing, like an orange. And if you're going east-west, or west-east, or not north-south, because north-south, a rum line and the other line I'm about to tell you are the same thing, but heading east-west, that we would be from Tonga to Brisbane, and we were on our rum line, it might be 2,000 miles. But if we take our Great Circle line, which is another bit of trigonometry that comes into working out the best, shortest distance between 2 points on the surface of the Earth, our distance would be, say, 1,850 miles. And what we would do, instead of going from there to there, we'd sort of go, if it's in the southern hemisphere, you'll take a southern arc between the 2 points. And that'll be a shorter distance. So like a lot of you know, if you're flying from London to New York, you don't go across the Atlantic. You actually go straight up and over the North Pole, because that's the shortest distance. Yeah, so I can't remember why I was telling you all that, but oh yeah, just to explain what a rum line is for anyone out there who's never heard of the term rum line. Boats are fantastic because everything has a name. Every maneuver, every point of sail, every item on the boat has a name, a nautical term. Like there are 3 ropes on a boat, but all the lines have names, and everything has a name. So when you first learn to sail, someone says athwartships or a thwart or lee or halyard, sheet, boom vang, preventer, everything. There's so many terms to learn and so many orientations to learn. Like, you soon stop talking about in left and rights, because if you're facing back, that winch over there is on my left, but it's not, it's a starboard winch. It's so that there's no ambiguity on boats. If we were to go through and do something, or wanted someone to grab something, everything has a location in nautical terms, and everything has a name in nautical terms. Like this winch here is my mizzen sheet winch. The winch above that is my mizzen halyard winch. This is the main sheet winch. Then you've got 2 sheets for the headsail over there, 2 inches. You've got your windward and your lee, or your lazy wind, or a few different terms. Then all the winches up the front, everything's got a name. So that's why when I remember to, I'll let you know what the terms are that we talk about. I've just spotted a fault while I've been talking here. On my, this is the solar panel connection back to the battery, or to the solar panel controller, and I must have nicked the cable when I was terminating it, and we've got a bit of greenery, a bit of corrosion starting inside the core, so I've got to replace. What I'll have to do before that greenery, capillary action will actually suck water up inside the wire and keep sucking it along, and the greenery will go track further and further inside the cable. So before that happens, what I'm going to do is chop this cable off just here, re-terminate it, and it'll all be tickety-boo. So that's one thing. When you're sitting on a boat, you're always looking around for things to repair, replace, modify before they break and cause a calamity. Alright, that's it. I'm going to go and have some breakfast. Wendy's still asleep, so I might just have some cereal. Usually we'd have eggs or something in the morning, and have a bit of a chat over the paper, but there's no paper. Yeah, just catch you later. See ya.